The entire history of Fortnite. That's what we're going to be reacting to today. Timmy FNBR just uploaded this video, and from what I saw, his Alex video, he makes really good videos, so consider checking him out. I'm so interested to check this out, so let's dive into it.
Ever uploaded?
Is that actually the first one?
This is one of the greatest moments in Fortnite history.
All right, setting the scene.
And this is what Fortnite looks like today. But how did we get here? Today, I'm going to be doing a detailed breakdown of the entire story of Fortnite.
So many people have done this video,
let's go all the
I'm
way
keen
back
to see.
to the beginning of Fortnite Battle Royale. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn because we are starting on Saturday, December 10th of 2011. More specifically, at an event called the Video Game Awards. Here, Epic Games announced the creation of their newest game, Fortnite. And to give you an idea of how different things were back then, here's a small clip of the original trailer from that day, almost 13 years ago.
Oh, this is the original trailer. That's actually crazy. This is back when, like, zombies in COD was, like, crazy.
The original trailer shows a completely different Fortnite from the one we have today. This version of Fortnite seems to be a horror survival game, sort of a mix of Call of Duty Zombies and Minecraft, both games being hugely popular at this time. The look of the game was, well, very different. It had a darker, grittier style, and there was no Spider-Man doing the gritty with Chun-Li. In 2012, Epic did a panel at the San Diego Comic-Con event where they announced a 2013 release date for the much-anticipated game. This, however, got pushed back again and again and again until it was July 25th of 2017 when Fortnite finally entered its early access mode. This was now referred to as Fortnite Save the World.
That trailer's a W, by the way.
Save the World mode was met with mixed reviews. And by 2018, the zombie survival drama was not something that gamers were looking for. Not to mention, you actually had to pay for this version of Fortnite, which is unlike the Battle Royale version, which would end up being free.
Paying $60 for Save the World is crazy.
As successful as they would hoped it'd be. I mean, so they decided to look into other ways to keep
it was back when you paid for games, so
attract new players. That's when Epic launched a game mode that would not just change the alternate Epic Games world they created, but our entire world as we know it. And it was called Fortnite Battle Royale. On September 26th,
they turned it around pretty quick, I'm pretty sure.
Epic launched Fortnite Battle Royale. The concept was very simple, and still is to this day. 100 players enter an arena, and only one can leave. At least when you're playing solos, that is. They start on the battle bus and skydive onto the island. And once players are on the ground, they gather loot, build forts, and fight off enemies until they are the last one standing. All while players are running from the ever-shrinking storm. This concept was very similar to a game that had come out earlier that year.
Where's the PUBG mention?
A game where 100 players skydive onto an island,
this was
gather loot to fight off enemies
at the
until they're
time.
the last one standing, all while running from a storm. Sound familiar? Yeah. Well, PUBG's lawyers thought so. They actually tried to sue Epic Games, but the lawsuit was eventually dropped. Probably because the concept of a battle royale wasn't exactly new. The point of all of this being that the concept of a battle royale was not original to PUBG or Fortnite. And Fortnite certainly would not be the last battle royale game made. Games like Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, and many others quickly swept in to mooch off the genre and Fortnite's
Apex
success.
launch was fun, I remember that.
So with all this being said, why Fortnite? What made Fortnite of all these games more successful than the others? And what made Fortnite into the game that it is today? The short answer is updates. Fortnite is a game that's constantly changing and adding new content. The different eras of Fortnite are tracked using chapters and seasons. But when the game launched, there was none of this. This era, before all of the chapters and season, is referred to as the preseason era, or more commonly, Season 0. And this ran in between September and October of 2017. Back then, players didn't have any cosmetics available. Everyone was using default skins. In addition to this, some of the biggest creators in the world, like Ninja and many others, were just starting to play the game, but we'll talk more about those guys later. Also, a fun fact, in this pre-season, there was a weapon introduced into the game
Zappatron
that was only in Fortnite for 30 minutes. It was called the Zappatron and has the record for the shortest stint an item has ever had in Fortnite. But forgetting all of that, Fortnite would eventually release Chapter 1, Season 1. Season 1, also called First Steps by Epic Games, was launched on October 26th of 2017. This new season introduced the item shop and season shop, which let players purchase cosmetics to customize their characters. Season 1 also had the first ever limited time event, or LTM for short.
Oh, I remember when they launched this.
This was crazy. Where players were split into 2 teams and then given 10 minutes to
what
prepare
is this?
for
This is
PvP.
like
Epic
7 years ago
and
at this
many more
point?
things in the
Damn,
future to
that's
keep the
7
game
years ago, that
interesting
footage of
and
me.
keep players engaged.
It's crazy.
Which honestly is something
7
really
years
unique,
ago.
and
Man,
one of
my
the big
skin looks so
answers to why
smooth.
Fortnite has outperformed a lot of other similar battle royale games.
Lighting in my room don't look too good there right now. Lighting there looks better,
we can't talk about
low-key.
Fortnite without mentioning the content creators that rose to fame because of the game's popularity. Easily the most memorable content creator of this era is none other than Ninja.
Yeah. Bro, the revolver clip. Bro, the revolver clip. This one's a classic. Actually insane.
Oh my god! Tyler Blevins, also known as Ninja, joined the world of pro gaming all the way back in 2009 playing Halo 3. Yeah, he's really old, but he didn't start streaming games until 2011. And although he was relatively successful playing games like Halo 3 and PUBG, he didn't really blow up until the start of Fortnite. At the beginning of Fortnite, his followers grew from 500,000 to 2 million in just 6 months. But we're gonna get back to Ninja and many other creators later, cause it's time to talk about Season 2. This, in my opinion, is the most important season in Fortnite history. You see, Season 2 was the first ever Fortnite season with a theme to it, and that theme was medieval times. And more importantly than all of this, this was the first ever season with the
Fortnite Battle Pass.
The introduction of a Battle Pass was very interesting because it gave players a reason to.
They weren't the first, by the way. Dota was the first.
This
that
was
I remember.
One of the biggest reasons Fortnite was able to have so many players consistently playing their game at the time. The Tier 100 skin in this season is one of my favorite skins of all time, the OG. The Black Knight.
Yeah,
the Battle Pass wasn't the only huge addition of Fortnite in this season, however, and one of the largest updates not only in this season, but of all time, was the addition of Tilted Towers.
Yeah.
I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field
the OG.
Tilted's abundance of loot and endless places to hide made it a common drop.
I hated it. I still hate it though. I'm not gonna lie.
Additionally, in Season 2, we also saw the entrance of the
quality of these cinematic trailers was crazy.
In gaming history, Season 2 of Fortnite would be really hard to follow up. But Epic Games and its developers still had a lot in store for Season 3. Season 3 is largely considered the start of Fortnite's story or lore, as some would call it. This
just kept going.
A giant meteor appeared in the sky around the middle of the season.
Back in this day
Smaller
is insane.
Also crashed into places across the island, and
just
new
kept
locations
consistently
such as
making banger updates, banger trailers.
Season 3 also introduced loading screens, weekly challenges, and contrails for players. Not to mention one of my favorite battle passes of all time, which was space-themed. Eventually, that giant meteor crashed into Dusty Depot, which destroyed it and turned it into Dusty Divot. Feel free to comment RIP Dusty Depot in the comments. I know you miss it as much as I do. Speaking of Dusty Depot exploding, this is what led us into the beginning of Season 4, called Brace for Impact. This season was incredibly popular. It included a superhero theme.
It was insanely
the first
goated.
ever major collaboration in form of the Infinity Gauntlet
I
LTM.
remember, that's the wrong trailer, by the way. I remember when this trailer came out and just
Avengers Infinity Wars, which was one of the biggest movies at its time. In this LTM, players fought over the Infinity Gauntlet mythic item, which would turn players into Thanos. And as expected, Thanos was a little bit OP. However, this was one of my favorite game modes, and I can just remember playing this with all my friends.
This was something
The Infinity
diff.
Gauntlet happened to be the first ever mythic item in the game as well, which would lead on to a bunch more crazy mythic items that we'll talk about in the future. Although this item was limited to the Infinity Gauntlet LTM at the time, this is not the last time we're going to see an overpowered weapon. Trust me.
Yeah,
During this
that's
time
true.
as well, another huge update to Fortnite actually came from the community instead of Epic Games himself. Because it was at this time that the Fortnite community themselves started to crave some sort of esports aspect. The game was fun, everybody knew that. But just like any other game, people wanted to compete. Surprisingly, up until this point, there weren't any official tournaments run by Epic Games. However, as we'll see, there are so many Fortnite content creators who could fill this gap in the market. And just like that, Friday Fortnite was born. Popular and controversial content creator Keemstar started Friday Fortnite in May of 2018.
Gotta give him credit. He did do it.
Would run Friday of every week.
It was so much fun to play, even though I had to play on like bad ping.
Even huge
bro, that time we almost beat Ninja,
bro.
Me and Elliot almost beat Ninja, man.
Were some of the YouTubers, just to name a couple. This was a massive turning point for Fortnite and its popularity. See, at this point, Fortnite was already one of the most popular games of its time, but it hadn't really reached the mainstream yet. With the introduction of creators like Mr. Beast into Friday Fortnite, however, Fortnite's popularity absolutely skyrockets at this time. With all these new eyes on Fortnite, the Epic Games dev team wanted to shock the world. They wanted to do something that had never been done before.
100 mil prize
pool. That brings us to the end of Season 4. The finale of this season had
this was crazy too.
Live event.
Obviously, this is,
and it was called
this
the
is what Mustard was talking about. This is the magic.
Was started by a character named the Visitor, who arrived on the island through the meteor from previous seasons. He launches the rocket after programming it to travel through multiple dimensions, and the rocket almost destroys Tilted Towers, but luckily it was swallowed by a rift. But Tilted won't be safe forever, so stick around to see what happens. Well, anyway, after some more chaos, it finally launches into the sky and formed a sideways rift. This event would not only shock the Fortnite community, but gaming as a whole. This was the first time that such a large amount of players would all gather around together to watch an event.
Now that's culture.
Popular creators would even live stream the event to their audiences. Well, as you can see, the really impactful end of Season 4 left a giant cut or rift in the sky, which leads us right into Season 5, Worlds Collide. Because of the sideways rift in the sky, many of the old POIs were swapped with those from other dimensions. Moisty Mire was replaced with Paradise Palms and a desert. As changes kept happening across the map, the rift seemed to sort of widen. During this time, a lot of new cosmetics were added, including toys. So now you can throw balls back and forth with the boys, if you're into that. Well, anyway, this season also introduced one of the most important characters in Fortnite history, Kevin.
I was waiting for Kevin.
Kevin is amazing. He's big, he's tall, and he's a cube. A big purple cube. And sometimes he even moves. Oh, also, he created a giant floating island that hovers above the Fortnite map. And this was just the start of Kevin the Cube, because in Season 6, Darkness Rises, Kevin and his giant floating island caused the map to flood with corruption. Different corrupted areas began to appear across the map, and the island also moved around the map every single game. However,
this is when I started playing with Fresh.
Wasn't appreciated by everybody. For the players in the competitive community, this was very controversial. Players who like to drop at the same spot on every map of every game were sometimes being griefed by the island being above their spots. Personally, however, I think this is one of my favorite seasons of all time because it was unpredictable.
The only thing that sucks about this is I hated watching people that played on that widescreen res. I hated that.
On November 4th of 2018, Kevin the Cube exploded. Everyone online during the live event was sent to the
I didn't get to watch this live event,
which was a bright white void connecting.
Or was it the other one? No, I think it was this one. There was this one I didn't get to watch. Because I was doing a YouTube rewind and they didn't even put me in the damn thing. So it was just
floating island crumbled into
Still pissed about that.
Creating a beautiful environment with flowers and waterfalls. This was a very sharp contrast to the dark scenery of Leaky Lake just moments before. And this is now known as the Butterfly event, which launched players right into Season 7.
I played this on my phone.
Better watch out. This season was winter themed because, it was winter. Anyways,
Season 7, man. This one's got a
weapon
spot
wraps to
in
the
everyone's
cosmetics
heart,
item
I
shop.
think, just because it came out in
And also
Christmas.
planes
Like,
were added to the game. And
it's just
this happened too.
Ugh.
Yep, the Infinity Blade was placed
such a good
atop
season,
mountain
man.
at Polar
Such a
Peak.
good season.
For those
It's
of you
like
that don't
insane how
remember,
good it was.
only one of these overpowered Infinity Blades can exist on the map at any given time. Whenever a player picks up the
Yeah, me and
Infinity
Elliot
Blade,
trying to
they
drop here for it, I
all their
remember
other
this.
inventory items, including their materials, guns, traps, heals,
Getting the
everything.
blade, the rush of getting the blade
Although
was
this
crazy.
sounded like a huge disadvantage at first, that's until you
And that's
hear
when
the
people
weapon
started
stats.
investing in drop spots.
The Infinity Blade doubles the HP and shield health of the holder and passively generates the player's HP. If you eliminate someone with the blade, you immediately gain 50 HP, which was a precursor to the Siphon event, which we'll talk about later. Not only that, but
Siphon
the
this
player
point?
moves 30% faster when holding the blade. The sword itself does 75 damage per hit, which roughly equates to 112.5 damage per second. Yeah, people hated this thing.
Nah,
It was
this thing was
so
sick. What are you
overpowered
talking
that
about?
it
People
was
hated that. Look at
vaulted
me on the
only
ground.
3 days later.
Me on the ground
As
dead.
exciting as the
Oh, no.
Infinity Blade was, that was not the most important update of Season 7. Remember before when I said that Season 2 was probably the most important update in gaming history at that point? Well, that's about to be blown away. Because in Season 7, we would have by far the most important update in not only Fortnite history, but probably in gaming history of all time. This is the season where Fortnite would introduce Creative Mode.
Yep.
Creative Mode allowed players
Wait,
to
I'm pretty
create
sure
their
that
own
was
islands,
yeah. But I was in this
game
trailer.
modes,
That's
and
me.
anything else
I
they could
remember going to
think
the
up.
office, dude.
The introduction
Like
of
the
this
Epic
creative
Games
mode
headquarters,
increased the landscape
and like
of
getting to
Fortnite
play
forever.
creative mode for the
Because
first time.
in addition to all the fun
was crazy.
creative maps you could build, this allowed for players to
Yeah.
practice every
No, this
single
was-
aspect
this was
of
wild.
their game individually. From build battles to edit courses to aim trainers and so much more.
Wow, I haven't seen aim
This
trainers like
blew
that.
Playground
That's crazy.
mode out of the water. The skill gap between your everyday casual player and a player who grinded creative mode got wider and wider
No, it
by
did.
the day.
This was
New
the big
building
part.
techniques, fighting
Still being able to
styles, and
practice
edits were
is
invented on
insane.
a daily basis, and this led players
And it's still
to
one of the
getting
biggest
a lot
categories within
better.
creative mode.
Creative is a huge part of Fortnite to this
Endless
day,
Zone Wars, hit it up.
and we'll talk about that more later, because first we need to talk about Season 8, also known as
Yeah.
X Marks the Spot. Another one of my
W.
favorite seasons cosmetically, this season was pirate-themed. It also brought animated sprays and moving emotes to the cosmetic
Why are we
catalog.
talking about animated
This
sprays?
season
Like,
was
come on,
especially
bro.
memorable because it had the first live event decided by the fans.
Yeah, this was where it
unprecedented
crashed
because
for me.
Players in video games had never really had a say on what we
Everybody at the
wanted.
drum
It
gun.
was always just up to the devs.
Welcome for the back,
That's
drum gun,
why
right?
when Epic released the Unvaulting event,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was drum gun.
absolutely broke the internet.
Yeah.
The Unvaulting event took place on May 4th of 2019.
The one cat
The
voting for the
vault
sword.
on the map finally opened, emitting a giant white beam of light. Players who
Yeah.
jumped in were thrown back into the 0 point, and inside the 0 point, players voted for an item to be unvaulted. For those of you that don't know, a vaulted item in video games, and more specifically in Fortnite, is
Yeah.
something that used to be in the game's
It's just seeing the drones all around one thing is just so funny to me. Like, it's just so
Epic
funny.
allowed players to unvault and bring back one of 6 items for the game. The players could choose from bouncers, the drum gun, grapplers, the Infinity Blade, no thank you, planes, and tactical submachine guns.
Attack SMGs ended up coming back
Unsurprisingly,
anyway.
people voted almost unanimously for the very popular and sometimes overpowered drum gun. After the voting,
Sometimes.
players were relaunched back into the
This
game,
event pisses me off,
only
man.
to
It
find
crashed.
The volcano
Had,
on the
like, so
north
many
side of
viewers
the
as well.
map erupted. The explosion destroyed popular POIs like Retail Row, Polar Peak, and most memorably, Tilted Towers. But we'll get back to the lore and story of Fortnite in a second, because as I said previously, the introduction of creative mode really started to increase the skill level of players. And around that same time, Epic had been running their first round of professional tournaments called skirmishes. These
Yep.
in-person LAN events were the start of the very large popularity to come of competitive Fortnite. This also introduced some of the game's biggest creators to the spotlight. Players like Tfue, Cypher PK, Nick Merckx, Cloaksy, and Ninja, and many more all participated in these skirmish events. However, these tournaments would not
I
compare
barely got
what is
to get
now
into
known
those
as
because it
the
was mainly
world's
Americans.
biggest esport event in
They
history,
let you do
the
some of them, but
Fortnite
you
World
couldn't
Cup.
really do anything from
We're now in
Australia.
2019.
They made up for it,
and
though,
Fortnite
with,
is incredibly mainstream.
the summer
So
skirmish.
it was
No, what
time
was it
that
called?
Epic Games made a splash
Straight Down Under.
in the entire gaming community and world at large. Epic Games hosted the Fortnite World Cup at
Yeah.
Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. The tournament had an absolutely whopping
It's so hard to get
$30
everything in one of these
million
videos
prize pool,
because there
which
is so much stuff to
hard
cover. Like, that's not even the World
comprehend.
Cup.
That
That's
is so
the
much money.
Pro-Am,
And it
which
was
you
by far
skipped.
the
But,
largest
like, there's
prize
so much
pool
stuff
that
to
an
cover here.
esports tournament had ever seen. In order to qualify, players had to compete in online events taking place over 10 weeks between April and June
Legit.
of 2019. Each week alternated between solos and duos, and
I
it
wish
separated gamers by
what I would do to
geographical
pay
region, and
to
the
be able
top
to play World
scorers in
Cup
each
again.
region from all around the world would
But,
proceed
like,
to the finals of the World Cup.
Not
in
like,
New
oh
York
my god, they
City.
do a World Cup again. I mean,
Nearly
like, World Cup
40
as in
million
I
players
essentially
competed,
time travel
and the
back 5
tournament
years
narrowed
ago,
it
which is
down to
actually
only
impossible.
200 players
Because I want everyone
competing
else to be
for the big
bad and me to be
prize.
good.
So, what's so interesting about this
I still don't
style
think I'd
of
win World
open
Cup, though.
qualifiers
Even if I
was
went with my
that
current
it
skill
allowed
level.
anybody to try and make it to the top. Previously, big esports like CSGO and Call of Duty were limited to players that were signed to large esports teams. But in this case, anyone could train
Like, people's
with their
aim is
friends
still
and try
insane.
their best to make it to New York City. Because of this, a majority of the players competing in the World Cup ended up being kids. In
Yeah.
fact, the average age of a competitor in the Fortnite World Cup was 16, and the youngest players at the time were only 13 years old. As most of you already know, the big winner of the weekend was the solo champion, Booga. Kyle Giersdorf, also known as Booga, brought home an insane $3 million as a result of him winning the Fortnite tournament. The World Cup was one of the first gaming events on such a massive scale. Not only did millions of people watch online, but Fortnite sold out tickets IRL with almost 20,000 people in person to watch Booga win. This was huge for the gaming world because this showed people and mostly
So much fun,
parents
man.
that playing games could be more than just a hobby. Booga was featured on talk shows and all other kinds of TV programs, including Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, I want to be you so bad, dude. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of you right now.
And Fortnite was truly all over the world at this point because of it.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who Fortnite was. People were posting wins on their Snapchat stories.
Nah, that
and
was back.
everybody
That was
wanted
back
to
in
be
season
Booga.
2-3.
We'll have
That
more
wasn't-
about the
that
esports
wasn't
and
Fortnite
competitive side
season
of
8,
Fortnite later
like-
in the video, but for now, we need to talk about season 9,
Yeah.
also called The Future Is Yours. Before I talk about season 9, however,
Why did he... I think he messed up his edit here. Bro, I forgot to talk about hitting the subscribe button.
season 9, The Future Is Yours, was really
That's
strange
crazy.
because it introduced the Devourer. Apparently, he was trapped under Polar Peak and was woken up during the unvaulting event. The Devourer was a really big, creepy-looking dude with one eye and way too many teeth. But after he woke up, he jumped into the sea, taking Polar Peak and its castle with it. Sometimes players could spot the monster swimming around in the water by
I
spotting the
remember- I remember
castle
seeing
peeking
that.
out above the surface. Eventually, the Devourer decided the sea wasn't a good enough home, and it began to attack coastal points of interest like Snobby Shores, Pleasant Park, and Loot Lake. His storyline culminated in the final showdown event on
This
July
was a
20th
crazy
of
event.
2019. Throughout
Yeah,
the
this was
season, the
sick.
Mecha Team leader was under construction, led by Singularity and the Imagined Order. After the mech was completed, a countdown to the final showdown event appeared. Once the countdown reached 0, the Devourer got out of the water and began to march across the island. After a long and valiant battle, the mecha came out on top, stabbing the sword of
So
Singularity
sick.
right through the Devourer's head, ending its reign of terror over the Fortnite map. But the destruction caused by the battle will change the Fortnite island forever. The mecha had to tear the 0 point out of its containment, and eventually the inner core exploded, causing a reality wave across the island. This would launch us into the ever-important Fortnite season, Out of Time, also called Season X. After the explosion following the reality wave, the scientist, a new character in Fortnite, arrived on the island and created 7 rift beacons across the map to invite the other members of the 7 into the loop.
I low-key
Each
hated
rift
this season.
beacon location
No, I
marked
hockey
a
hated this
change
season,
in
but I
UI.
missed the season at the
My
same
favorite
time.
being the addition of Gotham City,
Yeah,
where
Gotham's
everyone
crazy.
is Batman. I love Batman. Once the scientist was done building every rift, he built a rocket at Dusty Depot and set off a timer.
This is the event I also
This
didn't get
timer
into.
counted
Bro,
down
there
to
were so many
the
events I
end
just
live
didn't get
event,
into.
which
Like,
took place on October 13th,
so he's picked everyone here.
2019. The rocket launch would set off a chain of events leading to the total destruction of Fortnite as we know it. An explosion so giant, it left the game literally unplayable. When players logged in on the following day, they were greeted with a giant black hole. The effects of the live event weren't only felt in-game. All the Fortnite social media accounts were blacked out during this event, and all that was left on their socials was a single post titled ... and a live stream of the black hole live event. This event
I remember
was one
kids
of the
couldn't play
biggest
Fortnite,
gaming events
and kids
in
being me.
On YouTube, the game at one point reached 4.3 million concurrent viewers, and Twitch confirmed that 1.7 million concurrent viewers were watching the live event. The whole website of Twitch even crashed at one point because of how many people were watching the game go dark.
Legit.
So this was the end of Fortnite.
Don't have anything to do.
Or was it? You see, this was just the beginning. After 2 days of waiting,
this
Fortnite
transition's
came back
cold, by the way.
on October
This
15th
transition
of
might be one of the best
2019,
transitions in Fortnite. You
which
ready for this?
marked
You're
the
not ready for it.
beginning
You're not
of
ready for
Fortnite
it. Ready?
Chapter 2. The black hole blew up, reshaping the previous island into a brand new one.
Insane transition.
the Apollo
I don't know. I
Island.
thought that was just one of the
Nearly
cleanest ones going.
Everything was given a revamp on the island. New textures, improved graphics, and even the battle pass was built differently. They added cool water features as well, like swimming and boats.
Okay, this has
Season
motivated
1 of
me to win
Chapter
FNCS.
2 was off
I remember
to a
playing
great
FNCS.
start,
This is
but
like
then
Chapter 2,
things started
Season
to
2.
slow down, and nothing was changing.
So good.
Chapter 2, Season 1, which was supposed to be a new spark to the game, became the longest season in Fortnite history.
Yeah, that was
lasted
dead.
an entire 127 days, more than a third of a year. Players started to wonder if this new chapter system would just be like long seasons.
Yeah.
And everyone was disappointed.
And I get it from Fortnite's side too, because like it's a new map, so they're gonna need more time to adjust and play it and stuff like that. Like I get that.
That would have been a really bad decision. However, this sadness didn't last too long because Season 2 of Chapter 2 finally came out on February 20th of 2020, right before the world was plunged into COVID
one of
lockdowns.
the most
This chapter centered on
insane,
spies.
crazy
seasons. The first AI bosses and henchmen were added, like Midas, TNT Tina,
also,
and
this
even
trailer
a collab
fire,
with
too.
Deadpool. Each boss dropped a special mythic item that was even stronger than the legendary gold version of that item. Travis Scott, my favorite rapper, even had a concert in-game that season called Travis Scott's Astronomical. As much as I would love to show you some of the Travis Scott show, unfortunately, I don't want a copyright strike, so you'll have to watch that later when you're done watching this video. Anyways, Season 2 ended with
this
the
event
device
also
live
didn't
event.
work for me. Like,
Midas
is this
was
just like
building
a compilation of events that didn't work while I'm streaming to hundreds of thousands of people? Because if that's what it is,
the divide
I'm really not
itself
enjoying
was
this.
meant to stop the storm from closing in
This
on the
event
island.
was sick though, and the
For
after
just a
it was
moment,
sick
the
too.
device seemed to have worked. The island is beautiful and serene with no storm until the entire island is flooded. And next up, we've got Season 3 called Splashdown. Now, instead of running from the storm, players are running from a giant wall of water. Parts of the map are now completely flooded, but slowly drained throughout the season. Not to mention, everybody's favorite superhero, Aquaman, was added to the game. I'm kidding about him being everyone's favorite. Yeah, okay. Of course, this was just to promote the superhero movie coming out in 2018, Aquaman, which was 2 years old at that point, but whatever.
Yeah,
Cars
that was
were
weird.
also added to the game for
It
the
was
first
old
time.
at that point.
And inside of the cars, you could listen to music both from Fortnite and also real-life artists. This was a huge addition to the game, as this was the first time that really large mainstream artists had a huge interest in being inside video games. Also, Fortnite happened to sue Apple. Yeah, like the iPhone, that Apple, yeah. Fortnite sued them during this season as well. And in retaliation, Apple didn't allow Epic Games to continue operating on the App Store.
No more Fortnite on the iPhone.
Fortnite Mobile. Anyways, once the island was successfully drained,
season
Thor, yeah, like Chris Hemsworth Thor, returns to the Fortnite Island and brings all of his friends.
I think it's the
this started
cartoon
Fortnite Chapter 2, Season 4,
comic
the
book
next
version of Thor.
This was their first official themed crossover
50-50 stream,
The Battle Pass was Marvel themed, and the map was Marvel themed as well. The bosses were Marvel themed. They were Marvel theme exclusive LTMs. If they could slap a Marvel character on something,
Apparently
they
we're getting
did.
another one of
Instead
these too this
dropping
year, which
mythic
honestly I'm
guns,
excited for. His
this
last one was
season,
insanely
the
good.
bosses dropped superpowers.
Yeah.
The big bad scary boss of this season is Galacticus, a big red dude from the Fantastic Four comics. And during the live event, he threatened to eat the 0 point. Yeah, not sure why he was doing that, but instead of eating the 0 point, Tony Stark, Iron Man, feeds him a bunch of battle buses, and then boom, crisis averted. Nobody was eaten.
Feeds him
nice.
a bunch of
On to
battle
the next
buses.
season. Cool.
Bro's
Next is
bussin'.
Fortnite Chapter 2, Season 5, also known as 0 Point.
This was a
Even
good
though
season.
us Fortniters won the battle against Galacticus, the 0 Point was left unstable. A bunch of hunters were pulled into the island to help.
Man, this
like
was
Mando
meant to
from The
have
Mandalorian. There were a lot
Samus.
of other memorable collaborations this season.
But Nintendo
with
wouldn't
the
come to the
fan-favorite
table.
collab being
Dogged
Ryu
it.
and Chun-Li from Street Fighter. Let's be real, Chun-Li got most of the attention,
Yeah.
especially from
These were like
CyberPK.
W collabs coming
Exotic
out, like
items also
crazy.
entered the game for the first time ever. The 0 Point on the brink of exploding once again had to be saved. And luckily, Jonesy, also my profile picture, comes in right at the perfect time to save it. Teaming
This
up with
trailer
Seven.
was so
But
good,
in
too.
turn, he locks himself
I think it was
into the
directed
loop,
by the Russo brothers,
which
this
sends
one
the
here.
island back into a primal state. And that's where we have Chapter 2,
Oh my
Season 6,
God.
Primal. Honestly,
Makes you
I am
fu-
not going to talk a lot about this season.
Nah.
I do not like the Primal
Nah.
season at all.
This was L.
However,
This was
we do have to
so
talk about
L.
it just a little bit to
Nah,
make sure
this
that the
was
story all
L.
makes sense.
It's
Basically,
L
a
season,
big old
man.
primal biome appeared in
Nah,
the middle of
man.
the map. The final blast from the 0 Point removed the
Oh,
sand from the
this-
desert.
I didn't even
destroyed
get it-
any
get it off
tech
my
left on the
screen.
island,
Get it off
and
my
it created
screen.
this thing called the Spire.
Get it off
Anyways,
my
the
screen.
season also added a bunch of new weapon types like makeshift weapons, which I hate, and primal
Yeah.
weapons, which I also hate.
Yeah,
Plus,
nah.
this is the first time people get to do weapon crafting in game, and honestly, I won't be too mean about that because it's pretty cool. But many players
Until you gotta
like
hit
me
cars.
were not a fan of these weapons when they were introduced. Luckily, however, this was all about to change in Chapter 2, Season 7, Invasion. All of the weird Spire business attracted aliens to the island where they invaded, hence the name of the season, Invasion.
I love how he's got a Batman
Now, there's
loadout.
this giant alien mothership constantly hovering over the island. Aliens kept abducting different POIs from around the map. Players can take the UFOs over and attack other players from the sky. You could either
The
abduct
storyline
people
of this
or simply
season is
shoot
actually
them with
very
giant
interesting. Or this
cannons.
chapter, I should
Either
say.
way, if you got a hand on one of
Hey,
these
we got another
UFOs,
feature.
you are guaranteed to be an absolute menace.
Everybody
in
used to have
game.
that face
also,
cam.
in this Alien season, we got to see Rick Sanchez
Bro,
from Rick
using
and
the
Morty,
UFOs to kill
and
people was
everyone's
just
favorite alien
such-
superhero,
It's actually kinda fun.
Superman. The season ended with a huge mission where you invade the alien mothership in the Skyfire event. And then once you invade the ship, you not only find aliens, but Kevin!
Yes!
Yep, he is not dead. He is just right here on some spaceship. No worries. The mothership explodes, launching a ton of cubes, little baby Kevins, onto the island like crazy,
And the
which
blue
bring us
cube.
right into Chapter 2, Season 8, called Cubed. Yep, he's back. I told you Kevin would be back. Not only did he get the island covered in purple cubes, but there was also blue cubes and gold ones as well.
People
There were
liked
also
this
cube
season.
monsters,
I
which
low-key
were
hated
weird
it, I think.
rock-like creatures. And
I remember
unlike
viewership
previous
wasn't
seasons
great,
during Chapter 2,
which also
the Battle
affects
Pass
my opinion
only
a lot.
had one skin from a different franchise. This
I also
being
just wasn't
Carnage.
motivated making Fortnite
At this
videos
point,
back here.
A lot of players were getting very tired of the Apollo Island, and people have been playing this Chapter 2 map for over 2 years now. They were ready for a change, and luckily, Epic had everyone covered with the end of Chapter 2 event. What happens is the cubes all converge into the middle of the map and form
The
this
queen!
giant, like,
The
pyramid thing
queen!
called convergence. The cube
This event was
queen,
sick,
who
though.
is the queen
And it worked
of
for me.
the cubes, if you haven't guessed that by the name, opens up a portal with the pyramid. This causes a bunch of aliens to come pouring out of the sky. But don't worry, The Rock is here to save everyone.
bro.
Dwayne, that Rock. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
In order
it's
to stop the
crazy,
queen,
though.
The Rock flips the entire island over, destroying her once and for all. And this begins a whole new chapter in Fortnite.
That would kill someone.
Chapter 3.
Right.
On December 5th, 2021, Fortnite Chapter 3
I don't know why I'm
Season 1,
asking what would
called
kill someone in
Flipped,
Fortnite.
launches.
Like, it just...
puts
I remember this
players
trailer
on a
getting leaked,
whole
though.
new
That
island
was funny.
named Artemis. This is the season where the new mechanic of sliding was finally added into the game.
Yeah.
Now letting players slide
Spider-Man,
down cliff sides
bro.
as fast as they want. Not to
Spider-Man.
mention, that's right, Spider-Man is finally coming to Fortnite.
Yeah.
And he took the Daily Bugle and his web slingers along with him to the island.
Camping tents
Season
as
1
well.
of Chapter 3 was
Hey,
one of my personal
Lucifer!
favorites because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, but I didn't like it as much as Chapter 3 Season 2. The battle between the Seven and the Imagined Order had come to a new head, and the Imagined Order invaded the
This
island.
event
This
sucks.
attack leads us right into the new season.
Because it was like a
Chapter
creative
3
game
Season
mode.
2 Resistance added more
Yeah.
movement to the game. Specifically, you can now sprint and mantle over walls and other various objects. You can
Yeah.
also burst through doors. Epic also added this new overshield thing, which added 50 extra armor points that
Well,
regenerate
this is when they
between
get
battles,
did
but
zero
this
build.
was only in the zero builds game mode. Yep, you heard that right. The
Yeah.
zero builds game mode. We're going to talk about that in just a second, because the IO has invaded the map in Chapter 3 Season 2. See, multiple POIs now include IO blimps and technology that the players can use to their advantage, like siege cannons and tanks. But the invasion wasn't all fun and explosions. The IO also managed to block building entirely. Yeah, completely. I don't know if you guys remember this,
Chapter
but
3
for the
map is
first few
interesting.
weeks
Yeah,
of
we got
this
tilted back. That's right.
players
It
were not
froze
able to
or
build
thawed.
at all in any game mode. For the first time
But, like,
ever
this tilted
in
did
Fortnite,
not hit.
building was gone. This also marked the launch of Fortnite's Zero Build mode, which brought a whole new type of player to the game. Perhaps one of the best parts of this happening was that a lot of old content creators who weren't a fan of Fortnite at that time came back to the game to try out the Zero Build mode. Players like Tfue and
I never
Zenly,
left.
just to name a couple. Honestly,
I never
I'm a
left.
huge fan of the Zero Builds mode because I think it adds diversity to the game. Personally, I'll always be a fan of builds, and that's what I play mostly, but I don't
Same.
think there's anything wrong with Epic adding in multiple game modes because it can only attract more players.
Yep,
Comment
agree.
down below, though, what you guys prefer, Zero Builds or regular builds.
Build gang,
Well,
stand
anyway,
up.
let's
I'm
move
in
on
this
to Chapter
trailer.
3, Season 3.
I'm in the background.
Now that the
I
IO is
skipped a bit.
defeated,
I'm
the
barely
loopers can
invisible
sit
in this
back
trailer.
and
It's
just
kind of a joke.
relax. And Season 3 of Chapter 3 was called Vibin', which
So this
allowed
was
them to
Donald
do
Mustard's
that.
last
There
chapter.
was a ton of new locations like Rave Cave and a big amusement park with a giant roller coaster. You could also tame and ride wolves this season, which was pretty fun. In addition to that, one of the most anticipated crossovers of all time happened when this season
Dragon Ball
included
was just
Dragon
insane.
Ball Z.
Nah, it was actually insane.
People were so excited about this that its announcement became Epic's most liked tweet ever in just 24 hours.
Yeah.
Once it was released, people were kamehamehaing all over the map.
No, it actually was just insane.
Oh, shoot! However, while everyone was distracted by Dragon Balls and roller coasters, the new big bad evil known as the Herald was watching from afar, waiting to launch her plan. And that happened in Chapter 3, Season 4, called Paradise, and the island is now being slowly taken over by a substance called Chrome. It turns everything super shiny and gives players that are covered in it special powers. It gives you healing, becoming immune to certain fire, phasing through walls, and also turning
The
into a
phasing was
blob.
so
You guys
weird.
remember blobbing around the map?
Yeah.
I loved it. I don't know about you, but I
Nah, it's kind of
also,
weird.
one of the most important additions ever was made to the season that you can now pet that dog. Regardless, throughout the season, the map slowly but surely
think it
was
was
taken
pet the
over by
wolves,
Chrome,
wasn't it?
all leading up
I
to
don't even know.
Chapter 3's final event,
That's actually
called
crazy.
the Fracture. Despite the island's best efforts, the Herald is able to fuse with the reality tree, destroying both the Artemis and Apollo islands.
Those builds on the tree look
Players had
so
to
weird,
collect
though.
fragments of the 0 point, ultimately creating an entire new island, Asteria. And that's what leads us into Chapter 4.
Chapter 4, gang,
Season
stand up.
1, A New Beginning, started off with a whole new map filled with all different POIs. Plus, Spawn Island is now in space. To support this beautiful new island came Unreal Engine 5. For those of you that don't know, Unreal Engine is how Epic Games creates Fortnite, and this was on a full new version of it, so the lighting and everything else about the game was greatly improved. This improved the way that the lighting, the sky, and the clouds looked, and
We're just skipping straight to the jungle season?
If you wanted to travel the island in style, Epic also added a dirt bike during Season 1 of Chapter 4, and it earned you some XP if you did cool tricks. A new weapon was also added to the game called the Excalibur rifle, which shoots
I didn't like this season. Chapter. Whole chapter just felt like a blur in my head. I don't know.
Changes, however, came in the form of a new perk system. As the match progressed, players are
I actually didn't like the perks either. I don't know. There's something about the perks just felt annoying, like a chore.
Island was led by a group called the Oathbound, and members of the group were tasked with building a giant rift gate. As the season continues, the gate slowly was built up, and then, like most things in the game, it exploded. The explosion brought the new season, Chapter 2, Season 4, called Mega. This season had a new Tokyo vibe to it.
Yeah.
The rift exploding brought
a highlight
POI
for sure.
known as Mega City. This is not only one of the biggest POIs in Fortnite history, it also reminded a lot of
Attack on Titan! Oh, no.
Before this season came out,
Can't forget the Attack on Titan bit, though.
A new first-person mode being added to the game. However, that never ended up happening.
That got leaked back in Chapter 2, Season 2.
A year later, Fortnite still has not introduced or announced anything about a potential first-person
It's in creative mode,
even
but
though
that's
the
about
leakers
it.
continue to say that it might happen. Even though this new season added a lot of mobility changes, the most important difference happened outside of the game. On May 15th,
really skipped over
Fortnite
Attack on Titan.
Arena mode forever, changing the game's meta completely. They quickly replaced Arena, however, with a new mode simply called Ranked. With the new mode came in entirely different point systems, different rankings, and even different loot pools. The biggest change, however, to the meta came in the form of Epic removing Siphon.
No!
Players no longer get HP back after they eliminate somebody. And it's safe to say
still controversial.
people were pretty upset about this. And just a few months later, Fortnite added Siphon back for tournament use, but it did not return to public and ranked matches. And eventually they even removed Siphon from tournament modes as well. Throughout the season, rumbles could be felt in a different area around the map. As the time went on, these rumblings intensified and a huge crack appeared on the island. Eventually, the terrain on Asteria crumbled and the center of the island collapsed, revealing a huge abandoned jungle just under the surface. Which leads us into Fortnite Chapter 4, Season 3.
I wasn't loving this one.
This threw players into a whole new leafy terrain.
I love Optimus Prime,
there were vines you could slide on like grind rails from the season before. They also added mud on the ground where if you slide
mud mechanic was kind of cool though.
Fast and also heal. Not to mention in this season you could ride on dinosaurs. There wasn't really anything that eventful, however.
I just realized bro skipped Naruto and I mean, this is Jujutsu Kaisen, but I don't even know if he'll talk about it.
In this season, the sun is eclipsed by the moon, and the island is infiltrated by
and this was when it was coming back.
Vampires.
And Fortnite was on the comeback. This was the comeback season.
New POIs were added, and the Shieldbreaker EMPs make their first ever appearance in this season. There was also a collab with Star Wars this season, giving us the
Why are we bringing up Star Wars? No one cares. Literally,
series on Disney Plus.
No one cares.
Despite all the new changes of Chapter 4,
and there's a Star Wars thing in the game right now,
and
still
tired of Fortnite. The
no
game
one
was
really
becoming
cares.
repetitive, and the stories seemed to have taken a backseat to just big collaborations. Each season used to end with a huge live event with players rallying together to create a sense of excitement and community. Now, we're lucky if they even have a live event at the end of the chapter. See, Fortnite needed a change, and fast. If Epic wanted to keep their players in the game, they needed to do something drastic. And that's exactly where they came up with the best idea in Fortnite history, Fortnite OG.
Yeah,
you see, this update was not
I remember when I first found out about
system,
Fortnite
OG, completely alone.
And I was like, yep, you guys are cooked here.
Exactly what it sounds like. This update brought back the original Fortnite map.
And like, I think it even surprised Fortnite with how much like this really did bring things back.
Everything else that you loved, as well as the loot, and more importantly than all of this,
I remember there's so many people on my friends list on.
Players that hadn't gotten on the game, including some of my friends, were back to play, and it felt amazing. According to the Fortnite social media account, nearly 45 million players joined the game on its release weekend.
That's crazy.
People loved this update, but unfortunately, all things must come to an end, and this was a relatively quick season. The Fortnite OG season only lasted 1 month. The OG season ended on December 2nd of 2023, and just a couple days after that, Fortnite released Lego Fortnite.
Lego.
This was basically a whole new game mode, but launched inside of the Fortnite launcher.
The fall off of Lego got to be studied. Lego Fortnite. I don't know. It's like
Minecraft, but instead of
the player
blocks,
base hasn't
Legos. And honestly,
hasn't returned
that's
as much.
A pretty accurate description of what the
I
game
liked
is.
playing it, but it just
Pretty much
didn't.
all of our skins in
Something
Fortnite
didn't
could also be
grab
used
me
in their
to
Lego
keep on playing
versions,
it.
And way more skins were compatible than anyone ever imagined. Over 1,200 Lego skins were available on game launch day. In the game, just like Minecraft, you can collect resources, build things, eat food, and if you expect something out of a survival game,
That was a funny
chances
clip.
are
Yeah, it
Lego
was sci-fi.
Fortnite has you covered. But Epic Games didn't just stop there. On December 8th, they
Rocket
released
Racing,
Rocket Racing. This was Fortnite's take on a classic arcade racing game, and they even did a collaboration with another Epic Games game called Rocket League. Additionally,
They just
this
took the
game,
car
which
model.
came out on December 8th, the Fortnite Festival, which is very similar to Rock Band, also came out on December 9th. On launch day, there were plenty of featured songs by Fall Out Boy, Machine Gun Kelly, Weezer, and many more huge artists. And most importantly, this event that they held to launch off Fortnite Festival was headlined by The Weeknd.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was cool.
Moneymaker sang that song.
Silence out with the popular. How you just with the popular.
However, it's time we get back to the regular Fortnite game, and now we're in Chapter 5. Fortnite OG ended with an event called the Big Bang.
Yeah.
During this event, a huge rocket is launched into the sky from Dusty Divot, and that rocket launches us right in to Chapter 5, Season 1. The event played out very similarly to the live event in Season X, but instead of being sucked into a black hole of nothing, it results in the aforementioned Big Bang. The huge explosion creates new worlds, and in the blast, players are shown Lego Fortnite and Rocket Racing for the very first time, and then the event ends on the Fortnite Festival right in the middle of an Eminem concert that happens to be interrupted by a gigantic Eminem, like the rapper, not the candy. The actual season started on December 3rd of 2023. This season brought a whole new island named Helios. The island had 5 bosses scattered around.
I'm actually
the
not
map,
minding
the
Chapter
most
5. I
important
actually
of
am
which
enjoying
was
it quite a
Peter
bit.
Griffin. When you beat the
I
bosses,
thought the
they
retention
drop
for Chapter 5 was
downloads,
better
and
than I
each
thought it would be.
medallion gives the
I thought
player
Fortnite would fall off
passive
so hard
healing
after
for the rest of
OG,
the game.
but it actually did
This
pretty
season
decently.
also introduced weapon modding, so you can now switch out scopes, mags, barrels, and underbarrels to improve and customize your gun the way that you like it. As far as new items, the dreaded ballistic shield was
This
added.
mantle thing is
And
just
this
whatever.
thing was super OP, especially in Zero.
Lamborghini.
The shield comes with an automatic pistol that could just melt.
Yeah, I'd say
enemies
like
from
it's
close
pretty
up,
good.
and you're
Like
just
the current
hiding
seasons,
behind
they're
your
actually
comfy
really
little
nice.
shield hiding
I
spot.
enjoy playing
Grapple
Fortnite.
blades were also added into the game that were used as a melee weapon,
actually hated
but
the
more
grapple blades.
importantly used as a mode of transportation. Just as players were starting to enjoy Chapter 5, Season 2 made its way into the game. Towards the end of Season 1, there was a series of earthquakes eventually.
Yeah, I missed this event, man.
culminating
It's
in
so
a
annoying.
giant molten lava hand emerging from the ground holding a giant chest. Over the course of a day, players kept shooting the chains holding the chest, and eventually
missed
the
this, yeah, I
chains
was
broke
traveling.
and finally revealed the contents of what was in the chest. The contents were thousands of helpless souls that shot up into the sky in a giant beam of light. These souls were evil and kept in that box for a reason. Now the ancient Greek pantheon has arrived on the island. Angry that the players opened the box, Zeus, the king of all gods, vows to destroy all mortal beings for being dumb.
Fair enough.
The gods brought a ton of fun items in the game with them, like wings of Icarus and Zeus's thunderbolt. Plus, this new season brought along the long-awaited Avatar collaboration.
Yeah, the Avatar.
Animated series, not the Blue Dude movie. And
That is
also a
annoying
fan
that you do
favorite
have to
character, Midas,
always
who
preface
now
which one
had
it
all
is.
new Greek-themed skin. Well, that brings us to today. Well, at least kind of. I finished this video a couple weeks ago, probably, and now we're even further. Who really knows? But long story short, we are quickly approaching 7 whole years of Fortnite.
That
Love
is
it or
wild.
hate it, the game has cemented itself as probably the biggest video game in history. No other game of the last 10 years could possibly be anywhere near Fortnite's scale. They're constantly releasing new content, whether that be new seasons or whole new game modes entirely. And that answers the question of why. And although the game has gone through some ups and downs, I think it's very obvious that Fortnite is here to stay. Thank you guys so much, and if you watch
Hey,
this very long video
we got the
to
last
end, I
clip.
really
Let's go,
appreciate you.
chat. Let's
Make sure to
go.
hit the subscribe button and comment down below what videos
This is
you
me
guys
in
wanna
Dubai.
see next. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.
Love you too. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.